Not words, just sharp, clipped sounds tearing through the heat. Boots on gravel, a metallic rattle. Somewhere beyond the chain-link fence, a rifle bolt slides home with a sound that vibrates inside your teeth. You don't lower the camera! The sun has bleached the world into harsh layers. Pale sky, white dust, silver fence. Heat shimmers so violently it feels like the land itself is breathing, expanding, collapsing. Sweat trickles down your spine, slow and deliberate, as if even your body has learned to conserve energy here. Then he moves. At first you think it's a mirage, another trick of heat and distance, a shape detaching itself from the horizon, black and white bleeding together. You adjust the focus ring with practiced fingers. The image sharpens. A dog, medium-sized, lean, border collie. If your eye hasn't failed you yet, his coat is dull with dust, fur clumped where sweat and grit have dried together. One ear stands alert, the other bears a thin notch, old and healed. He trots straight through the open corridor between the fences. No hesitation, no flinch. You forget to breathe. This strip of land doesn't belong to either country. That's the problem. No man's land, a place defined entirely by what it forbids. No civilians, no animals, no movement without consequence. And yet here he is. The guards see him. You know they do. You can tell by the way one stiffens, by how another lifts a hand halfway before stopping, uncertain. No one fires. You bring the camera tighter. The telephoto lens hums softly as it extends, compressing distance until the dog fills your frame. His paws move with steady confidence, nails clicking faintly against hidden stones. Strapped across his back is something small. Dark fabric, secured with careful knots. A pouch! Your finger tightens on the shutter. Click! The sound is barely audible, but it feels thunderous in your head. You take another shot, then another. Each frame locks the impossible into evidence. A dog walking freely where humans cannot. The nearest guard mutters something. You can't hear the words, but you catch the tone. Not fear! Superstition! You've heard it before, whispered by locals who won't step closer than a kilometer. The cursed dog. The ghost runner. The thing that walks between flags and doesn't die. The dog doesn't look cursed. He looks focused. He passes the final warning sign. Red letters peeling. Languages stacked on top of each other like they're arguing. He slows near the fence on the far side. There's a gap there, just wide enough if you know where to push. A hand appears. Thin, wrapped in cloth. It reaches through the metal. The dog stops, sits. Your chest locks mid-inhale. The hand unfastens the pouch with movements that suggest routine, not panic. Fingers slip inside. Remove something small. Wrapped. Precious. The pouch is retied. A brief pause. Then the hand presses flat against the dog's head. Just once. The dog doesn't wag his tail. He waits. Then he turns. Trots back the way he came. Straight towards you. Your pulse becomes impossible to ignore. You lower the camera only when the dog is too close for the lens to handle. Dust puffs under his paws as he passes the invisible midpoint, crossing back into the half of the land that technically exists. A guard spits into the dirt. Let it go, someone says. No one stops the dog. He disappears into the heap behind you, swallowed by scrub and silence. You stand there long after the corridor empties, camera still warm in your hands. The fence rattles softly as the wind shifts direction. Somewhere far away, a child laughs, so distant it might be memory. You! Review the photos! Frame after frame confirms what your instincts already know. That pouch wasn't random. Those knots were deliberate. And the dog wasn't wandering. You think you've come here to document borders, lines, tension, absence. But as you zoom in on the final image, dust frozen midair, the pouch caught in perfect light. You realize something else entirely has stepped into your frame, a system, and systems don't exist without purpose. You don't know it yet, but this is the last day you'll ever look at that border the same way. You don't leave when the light starts to fade. Most photographers do. The border grows sharper at night, less ambiguity, more teeth, orders tighten, fingers twitch closer to triggers, but you stay, crouched near a low rise of cracked earth, pretending to adjust equipment while really watching the space where the dog vanished. Your camera rests against your thigh, heavier than it should feel. Every rational part of you says today was luck, a fluke, an animal trained once, then abandoned to myth. You've documented enough human conflict to recognize the brain's need to assign meaning where survival was enough. But your hands don't pack up. They hover. Wait! The heat finally loosens its grip, replaced by a dry coolness that smells faintly of metal and old dust. Somewhere, a generator hums. Insects begin their careful, rhythmic chorus. You scroll through the images again. Zoom in. The pouch fills the screen. You isolate details you missed before. The stitching isn't military. Too careful. Too personal. One thread is a different color, repaired by someone who didn't care if it matched as long as it held. You swipe to the frame with the hand. The skin is scarred. Burned once, maybe. Fingernails trimmed short, clean, despite the environment. This wasn't desperation fumbling through the fence. This was scheduled. You lower the camera slowly, like it might startle the truth if you move too fast. A voice drifts from behind you. You saw him again? You turn. The man stands a few meters back, leaning on a stack of crates marked with symbols that no longer mean what they're supposed to. He wears civilian clothes, but they hang on him with the stiffness of someone who once wore uniforms for too long. His eyes don't leave the scrubland. You mean the curse, you ask? A corner of his mouth twitches, not a smile. Something older. People need stories, he says. Makes fences feel taller. He steps closer, boots crunching softly. You notice his hands, steady, broad, the nails bitten down. He smells like tobacco and sun-warmed fabric. They say he carries death, the man continues. That if you look too closely, something bad follows you home. Your thumb taps the edge of your camera. They're wrong, you say. The man finally looks at you. Really looks. At the camera. The lenses. The way your weight leans forward instead of back. They usually are, he says. That's why he still walks. He doesn't elaborate. Doesn't need to. Silence stretches, thick but not uncomfortable. Where does he go, you ask? The man exhales through his nose, a sound like wind slipping through a crack. Both sides, he says. Neither side. He nods once toward the land beyond the fence. He remembers paths people aren't allowed to. You swallow. Words line up in your throat, then refuse to come out in the right order. He's carrying supplies, you say instead. Medical, letters, maybe food. The man's gaze sharpens. Not alarm assessment. You're observant, he says. It's not a compliment, it's a warning. I don't want to stop him, you add quickly. I want to understand. He studies you for a long moment, as if weighing whether understanding is more dangerous than interference. Somewhere, metal clanks. A laugh cuts off too suddenly. Finally, he speaks. Then don't try to save him, he says. That's how people ruin things that work. He turns to leave, then pauses. If you're still here tomorrow, he adds, watch the east marker at dawn. He likes routines. Then he's gone, absorbed into shadows that know how to keep secrets. You sit back on your heels, heart thudding with a rhythm that doesn't match the insects anymore. Dawn, routines, systems. You glance at your gear lenses, batteries, spare memory cards, tools meant to observe, not participate. For the first time in years, they feel insufficient. Your eyes drift back to the last photo again. The dog's gaze isn't visible in it. His head is turned just enough away. But you have the unsettling sense that if it were, he'd be looking straight at you, and that whatever he's carrying through that land is only part of the story. You're in position before the sun decides what kind of day it will be. The east marker is nothing special. Just a bent metal post half buried in chalky soil, its faded paint chipped away by years of wind. But the ground around it is different. Pressed, traveled, as if the land itself remembers footsteps even when people pretend not to. You lie prone behind a low ridge, elbows dug into dirt that still holds the night's cold. The camera is already set. Manual focus. Aperture wide enough to drink in the weak light. You've learned not to trust automation in places like this. Time stretches. Then, movement, not sudden, not dramatic, just inevitable. The dog emerges from the scrub exactly where the man implied he would. Same pace as yesterday, same unhurried confidence. His silhouette cuts clean against the paling sky, black and white resolving as your lens tightens. He stops at the marker, sniffs, turns in a slow, deliberate circle. You notice things now that you didn't before. How he angles his body to keep one side shielded from the fence. How his head lifts, not to look, but to listen. His ears rotate independently, mapping a soundscape you can't hear. The pouch is back, slightly fuller this time. You track him as he moves, finger hovering over the shutter. Clicks come in measured intervals. You're not hunting an image anymore. You're documenting behavior. He reaches the corridor, pauses. A truck idles somewhere to your left. The sound vibrates through the ground. The dog waits until it passes, until the vibration fades. Then he crosses. Your chest tightens, not with fear, but with something closer to respect. Halfway through, a guard shifts his stance. A boot scrapes stone. The dog glances up. Just once! His pace never changes. No one stops him. On the far side, the hand appears again. This time, there's a second one, smaller. A child's maybe. It doesn't touch the dog, just hovers close, as if memorizing him. The exchange is faster today, efficient, familiar. When the dog turns back, you catch his eyes through the lens. They're not wild, they're working. The realization settles heavily. This isn't luck or legend. This is labor, repetition, trust built over time in a place designed to erase both. He disappears into the scrub once more. You lower the camera and stay very still. You don't follow him right away. Instead, you rewind mentally, frame by frame. The way the guards reacted, the timing, the locations. A map begins to form in your head, not of land, but of tolerance. invisible allowances carved out by fatigue, superstition, maybe even quiet agreement. Later, when the heat starts to rise, you move. Carefully, indirectly. You take a longer route, circling wide, letting the land hide you the way it hides everything else that survives here. You find the tracks. They're faint but consistent, paws pressed into dust where the ground dips, where dew lingered long enough to soften the earth. You follow them with the same patience you use with skittish animals, slow steps, eyes up, breath controlled. The tracks lead to a shallow depression tucked between thorny bushes. From a distance, it looks like nothing. Up close, you see the signs, flattened grass, bits of fabric caught on thorns, a rusted can weighted with stones to hold water, a rest point. You crouch, heart beating louder than it should. This is the first place that feels like an invitation instead of a warning. Something crunches behind you. You turn too fast. The dog stands a few meters away, head tilted, body loose but alert. No growl, no retreat, just assessment. You freeze. Slowly, you lower yourself into a seated position, making your shape smaller. The camera rests in your lap, lens pointed down. You don't reach for it. The dog steps closer, sniffs the air. His nose hovers near your knee, then your bag. He smells dust, sweat, metal, and the faint chemical tang of camera lubricant. You wait. After a moment, he sits. The pouch is within arm's reach now. You can see the stitching clearly, the careful repairs, the way the straps distribute weight evenly across his shoulders. He isn't owned, he's assigned. You realize something then. Something that changes the shape of your presence here. This system doesn't need a rescuer, it needs a witness, and maybe something more. The dog stands, turns once toward the border, then looks back at you. Not long, just enough. Then he trots off, trusting you to decide what kind of person you are without supervision. You stay seated long after he's gone, fingers pressing into the dirt, mind racing with a question that won't let go. If this place runs on invisible kindness, what happens when you make it visible? You don't touch the rest point, not at first. You circle it instead, slow and wide, memorizing angles, exits, the way shadows pool beneath the bushes even as the sun climbs. You photograph nothing. This isn't for the lens, this is for your body. To learn how to exist here without breaking the rules that keep the system alive. Only when you're sure no one is watching do you crouch again. The rusted can holds water, clean, refilled recently. The stones anchoring it aren't random, they're chosen for weight and shape, arranged so wind won't tip the container. Someone has thought about this, someone who knows how fragile routines are. You straighten, dust clinging to your palms, and a sound reaches you, soft, deliberate, footsteps. You retreat a step into the scrub, heart thudding with an uneven rhythm. The sound doesn't rush, it approaches like it expects to be heard. A woman emerges between the thorn bushes. She stops when she sees you. For a moment, neither of you moves. She's older than you expected, late 40s maybe. Her hair is wrapped in a scarf, faded by years of sun. A canvas bag hangs from her shoulder, the strap repaired with the same mismatched thread you noticed on the dog's pouch. Her eyes drop to your camera, then back to your face. "You shouldn't be here," she says. Her voice is calm. Not angry, tired maybe, but steady. "I know," you reply. The words feel thin, but they're honest. She studies you the way people study storms on the horizon, not to stop them, but to decide whether to shelter or keep moving. Finally, she exhales and shifts the bag higher on her shoulder. "You followed him," she says. "Not a question, yes." She nods once, as if confirming something she already suspected. "Then you've already crossed the line most people won't." She steps past you and kneels by the rest point, checks the water level, adjusts the stones. Her hands move with efficiency born of repetition. "You're the one who fixes the pouches," you say quietly. She pauses, looks at her hands as if seeing them from a distance. "I used to sew dresses," she says. Borders ended that business. She stands, dusting off her knees. The dog didn't. You feel the urge to ask a dozen questions at once. You choose one. Why him? Her gaze drifts toward the border, invisible from here but always present. "Because people don't see what they don't want to explain," she says. "And because he listens," she turns back to you. "And because he comes back. The weight of that settles into you. How many humans here can say the same? He carries medicine, you say. Letters, sometimes food," she smiles faintly. "Sometimes hope," she adds. "But that's harder to measure." Silence stretches again, filled only by wind threading through thorns. "You shouldn't photograph the people," she says suddenly. "I won't," you answer, too quickly to be rehearsed. She searches your face, then nods. "The dog doesn't mind being seen," she continues. "He understands what eyes can do. You swallow. I think I can help." That finally earns a reaction. Her brow creases, not with suspicion, but concern. "Help breaks things," she says. "Visibility breaks things faster." "I don't mean exposing it," you say. "I mean strengthening it." She waits, You pull the camera from your shoulder slowly, deliberately. Turn it so she can see the body, the controls. You pop open a side compartment and remove something small, black, and rectangular. A secondary camera. Lightweight, durable, silent shutter. Her eyes widen just a fraction. He already walks where we can't, you say. What if he could show us what he sees? She stares at the camera, then at you. The idea hangs between you, dangerous, luminous. No faces, she says. No landmarks, just moments, you reply. Proof that kindness is still crossing. She looks toward the border again, then back at you. The guards won't like this, she says. They already pretend not to see him, you answer. A long breath leaves her chest. Decision settles into her posture like a new weight she's chosen to carry. Tomorrow, she says, if he accepts it. She turns to leave, then pauses. If this goes wrong, she adds, you don't disappear. We do. The warning lands hard. As she vanishes into the scrub, you stare at the small camera in your hand, suddenly aware of how fragile trust feels when it's finally offered. That night, you don't sleep much. You clean the camera twice. Adjust settings until muscle memory takes over. Remove anything that could make a sound. At dawn, when the dog appears at the east marker again, you step into view. He stops, looks at you. The dog doesn't move when you step into the open. That's the first test. You keep your pace slow, measured, the way you would approach an animal whose trust matters more than proximity. The morning light is thin and pale, stretching long shadows from the fence posts like fingers clawing at the ground. You stop well short of him. The small camera rests in your palm, its strap looped loosely around your wrist. You don't raise it, you don't offer it yet. The dog's head tilts, not curiosity, calculation. You lower yourself to one knee, then sit. The dust stains your pants immediately, a visible commitment to staying put. Minutes pass. The guards watch, pretending not to. You feel their attention like heat against your back, but you don't turn. Slowly, deliberately, you place the camera on the ground between you and the dog. You slide it forward with 2 fingers. Then you pull your hand back. The dog doesn't advance. He stands there, ears flicking, eyes shifting briefly toward the border, then back to you. His body angles slightly, ready but not tense. You breathe out. Long. Controlled. You don't have to, you murmur, knowing he doesn't understand words, only intention. Nothing changes if you don't. The wind lifts, tugging at the fur along his neck. The camera strap flutters, tapping softly against the ground. That's what does it. The dog steps forward and noses the strap, testing its movement. He grips it gently, then releases it. Circles the camera once, twice, then he sits. Your chest loosens just a fraction. You reach into your bag and remove the modified harness. It's lighter than the pouch he already carries, balanced so it won't pull to one side. You'd worked through the night, hands steady from muscle memory and fear. You hold it up, let him see. He stands, moves closer, sniffs your hands, the camera bag, your knee. When you slide the harness over his shoulders, he doesn't flinch. You secure it quickly, efficiently, fingers careful not to tug fur or tighten straps too far. The camera clicks into place with a soft, final sound. The dog shakes once, adjusting to the new weight. Then he looks at you. For a moment, it feels like standing in front of your own reflection, evaluated, measured, accepted without sentiment. He turns and trots toward the corridor. Your heart pounds hard enough to make your vision pulse. The guards notice the harness immediately. One steps forward, another raises a hand, uncertain. Voices hiss low and sharp, but no one crosses the line. The dog moves exactly as before. Same pace, same timing. Same calm disregard for the fear wrapped around this place like wire. On the far side, the exchange happens again. But this time, later, when you're alone and your hands are shaking too badly to stop them, you'll watch the footage. You'll see the fence not as a barrier, but as a lattice of hands reaching through, fingers passing wrapped pills, folded paper, a small knitted sock for a child who lost one in the mud. You'll see faces, never fully, never clearly, but you'll see eyes, relief, gratitude pressed into seconds of motion. You'll see the woman with the scarf kneel and adjust the harness, her touch reverent, her mouth forming words you can't hear. You'll see a boy trail his fingers through the dog's fur, then pull back quickly, as if afraid to want too much. But right now, you don't know any of that yet. Right now, you wait. When the dog returns, the camera is still intact, still recording. He stops in front of you and sits. You don't cheer, don't laugh, don't touch him. You just nod. That night, you watch the footage by the dim glow of your equipment screen, breath shallow, eyes burning. The border dissolves. What remains is a network, fragile, quiet, alive. And you understand the danger now, not of what you've done, but of what happens when the world finally sees what has been surviving without it. The problem with seeing everything is that you can't unsee it. Once the footage exists, it starts to live inside you. You try to go back to being only an observer. You keep your distance the next morning. You photograph the fence, the warning signs, the geometry of control. But your hands hesitate every time the dog appears, like they're remembering something your mind is trying to deny. The system keeps working. Day after day, the dog runs his route. Sometimes twice, sometimes once, depending on heat, patrol shifts, or sounds. Only he understands. The pouch changes shape, the camera fills its memory, and you learn the rhythm. Mondays bring medicine, insulin wrapped in cloth, antibiotics counted twice by fingers that shake only after the dog leaves. Wednesdays bring letters, folded until the paper softens, words worn thin by rereading. Fridays are unpredictable. A pair of glasses, batteries, a tiny shoe, no bigger than your palm. You catalog nothing, you label nothing. You don't upload, don't transmit, don't even back up the files yet. Every instinct honed by years in the field tells you to slow down, but the world has a way of speeding things up for you. It happens on the seventh day. The dog doesn't appear at dawn. You wait. Heat creeps in early, thick and impatient. The guards rotate shifts. Dust rises, settles. Still nothing. By mid-morning, your jaw aches from clenching. You check the rest point. The water can is untouched. Your pulse stutters. You follow the tracks farther than you ever have, each step heavier than the last. Thorn bushes snag your clothes, draw thin lines of blood you don't feel until later. The land grows quieter, like it's holding its breath with you. You find the harness first. One strap is torn. The fabric is darkened, not with blood, but oil. Machine grease. Your stomach drops. A sound reaches you then. Low, mechanical, a vehicle where there shouldn't be one. You flatten instinctively, heart slamming hard enough to blur your vision. Through a gap in the scrub, you see it, an unmarked truck idling just beyond the usual patrol route. Two men stand nearby. One laughs. The other holds something white and black in his hands. The dog. Your body locks. The men aren't gentle. They're not cruel either. That's worse. They move with bored efficiency, the way people do when they believe they're untouchable. One of them notices the harness. "See," he says. "Told you it wasn't just a story." The other tugs the strap loose. The camera clatters to the ground. You want to move, to shout, to do anything but lie there, tasting dust and fear. You don't, because if you do, this ends with gunfire. They toss the camera into the truck. The door slams. The engine revs. Dust blooms thick enough to hide them as they pull away, leaving silence in their wake. When it's safe, if that word means anything anymore, you crawl forward. The dog is gone. So is the footage. You sit there long after the tracks fade, hands pressed into the dirt hard enough to bruise. The system you thought you were strengthening has just been exposed because of you. That night, the woman finds you. She doesn't raise her voice. She doesn't accuse. She just stands there, eyes hollowed by waiting. "They took him," she says. You nod. Your throat refuses to work. "The families won't send anything now," she continues. "They'll be too afraid." "I'm sorry," you manage. She closes her eyes. When she opens them, something has changed, not broken, but sharpened. "This was always the risk," she says. "But now it's real. You expect anger. Instead," she says, "if they took the camera, they'll watch it." Your breath stumbles. "They won't understand it," she continues. "Not all of it." Hope flickers, thin and dangerous. "We need him back," you say. She studies you, really studies you, like the first day, but this time, there's no warning left to give. "Then you'll have to stop hiding behind the lens," she says. The border hums softly in the distance, indifferent to plans and guilt. And for the first time since you arrived, you understand this truth with brutal clarity. Observation won't save anyone anymore. You stop sleeping altogether, not the dramatic kind. No tossing, no staring at ceilings. You simply lie still until morning arrives, your body pretending to rest while your mind keeps moving, circling the same absence again and again. The land feels wrong without him. The corridor is just a strip of dirt now, empty, obedient. The guards relax into habits they'd suspended without realizing it. Laughter returns. Cigarettes burn longer. Whatever superstition once protected the system is already thinning. You and the woman meet at the rest point at dusk. She brings nothing this time. No bag, no pouch, just herself and the weight of everything unsent. You bring your camera, though you don't raise it. "They won't hurt him," she says, more to convince herself than you. "Not yet. Why keep him alive?" you ask. She crouches and presses her palm flat against the dirt where his paws used to rest. "Because he's useful," she says, "and because people like to understand things before they destroy them." You think of the footage in the truck, of hands passing medicine, of kindness moving quietly where policy failed. "They'll trace the route," you say. "Figure out the timing." She nods, which means they'll watch the border harder and miss everything else. You finish. Her eyes lift to yours. A plan begins to form, not spoken at first, just assembled from shared understanding. You don't have maps or clearance or allies with weapons. You have patterns. You spend the next 2 days doing something you've never done before. You become visible. You photograph openly. You ask questions that don't matter. You let guards see your face, your gear, your interest in everything except the scrubland to the west. You laugh at jokes that aren't funny. You drink water where they can see you sweat. You turn yourself into noise. At night, you and the woman move quietly. She shows you places you'd never have found. Low spots where sound carries wrong, dry culverts hidden beneath brush, an abandoned utility shed half swallowed by sand. You leave no marks. You touch nothing that doesn't already belong to the land. On the third night, you hear him. Not a bark, a breath. It comes from inside the shed. Your pulse stumbles so hard you have to brace a hand against the wall to stay upright. The woman freezes beside you, every muscle taut. You inch the door open. The dog lies inside, tethered but unharmed. His coat is cleaner now. His eyes lift immediately, locking onto you with recognition so sharp it steals the air from your lungs. He doesn't move. He waits. A man sits nearby, slumped in a chair, boots off, rifle leaning within reach. He's asleep. Deeply. The kind of sleep that follows boredom, not exhaustion. The woman's breath trembles. You shake your head. Slow. Controlled. Not yet. You pull something from your pocket instead. Not a weapon. A camera battery. You roll it gently across the floor. It taps the metal chair leg. The man stirs. Shifts. Curses softly. You retreat into shadow. Moments stretch. Then footsteps. A door opening. The hum of a generator moving farther away. When you return, the shed is empty, except for the dog. You don't rush him. You kneel, unclip the tether with fingers that feel clumsy and too large. The dog rises, shakes once, then presses his head briefly against your chest. Not affection exactly, but confirmation. The woman turns away, shoulders shaking, and you pretend not to notice. You don't go back the way you came. You take a longer route, deeper into the land, trusting the dog to choose paths you can't see. He moves faster now, urgency tightening his stride, but he never outpaces you. By dawn, you're hidden. The border wakes to another empty corridor. But this time, the absence feels different. Not like an ending, like a breath held just before something runs again. You don't restart the old system. That would be suicide. Instead, you let it evolve. For 3 days, the dog doesn't go near the corridor. He rests in places that don't look like shelter until you're inside them. He eats when offered, drinks sparingly, always alert to shifts in sound you still can't hear until seconds later. You learn his new rhythm by watching his body, the way his ears angle before helicopters pass, the pause in his step when distant engines idle too long, the subtle tightening through his shoulders when something has changed but not yet arrived. He's already rewriting the map. On the fourth morning, the woman brings others. Not faces. You can photograph. Faces you shouldn't, but silhouettes wrapped in cloth and caution. They don't crowd the dog. They don't touch him. They listen. You spread your gear on the ground, careful and deliberate. This time, there's no hidden camera, no trick. Just the smallest body cam you own, stripped of light, stripped of sound, its surface dulled with tape. You don't speak at first. You let the footage speak for you. The stolen camera had been a loss, but not a total one. The guards hadn't erased everything before curiosity slowed them down. Enough clips survived, enough moments. You play them silently, hands passing through wire. A woman pressing pills into fabric like prayer. A child's fingers hesitating, then committing, burying themselves in fur. You watch the watchers react. Shoulders slump, hands rise to mouths. Someone turns away, not wanting their face seen while it changes. This is the discovery, not of a dog, not of a route, but of how many people have been surviving in parallel, never touching, never knowing how close they were to hope. The woman kneels beside the dog and rests her forehead briefly against his neck. When she stands, her spine is straighter than before. "We changed the routes," she says. "Yes," you reply. "Every time. No patterns," another voice adds. "Only responses," you say. They look at the dog. He sits, waits. You fasten the new camera, not on his back this time, but lower, angled outward, less obvious, less symbolic. When he stands, the movement is clean, unburdened. The first run happens at dusk, not the corridor, never again. Instead, a place the guards don't watch because nothing important ever crossed there before. A dip in the land where shadows linger longer than they should. You don't follow. You watch the feed later. You see new hands, different fences. A man removing his cap before touching the dog, like instinct guiding ritual. A woman slipping a folded drawing into the pouch crayon pressed hard enough to leave grooves. You see something else too. The dog stops at one point, lifts his head, stares straight into the camera. Not accidental, intentional. It's the closest thing to a message you'll ever get. When he returns, dust streaked and calm, the people don't cheer. They exhale, long, together. The network breathes again. But this time it's wider, smarter. and harder to erase. That night, as you sit apart and review the footage alone, you realize the truth that settles quietly, without drama. You didn't save this system, you just stopped standing in its way. And tomorrow, the world is going to find out, not where borders fail, but where people refuse to. You don't release everything. That's the first decision you make when the messages start coming in. They arrive quietly at first, encrypted emails routed through contacts you trust, names you recognize from other conflicts, other borders, people who know how to look without burning what they find. Is this real? Where was this filmed? Do they know they're being recorded? You answer only what's safe. Yes. No locations. The dog is not a symbol. He's a participant. The footage spreads anyway. Not virally, not loudly, but with the slow certainty of something true. Clipped surface stripped of context, a hand passing medicine through wire, a child's drawing folded into thirds, a dog moving through danger with unremarkable grace. Commentators argue about politics, about legality, about whether kindness can be neutral. You don't watch those parts, you watch the border. The guards change, new faces appear. Sharper eyes, less laughter. The easy superstition drains away, replaced by procedure and suspicion. Drones hum where birds used to cross freely. The system adapts, routes shorten, times shift. The dog runs less often now, but never stops entirely. When he does move, it's because it matters, because the risk has been weighed and accepted. You stop carrying your long lens. You don't need it anymore. The woman speaks less, but when she does, it's with a steadiness you didn't hear before. Others take on roles, water, repairs, timing. No one gives orders. They watch the dog instead. He decides when movement is possible. One afternoon, you catch a guard watching the footage on his phone. He doesn't know you can see his screen reflected faintly in the metal of the fence. His thumb pauses on a frame, small hands in fur, relief written plainly across a face that policy never prepared him for. He doesn't report it. He just pockets the phone and turns away. Not everyone reacts that way. There are interrogations, crackdowns, a raid that comes too close to the rest point and forces it to be abandoned forever. Losses that don't make headlines, you feel each one. But something irreversible has happened. People on both sides start leaving water where dogs can reach it. Not just this dog, all of them. Food appears near fences with no explanation. Packages labeled only with weights and dates. Kindness learns camouflage. One evening, as the heat bleeds out of the land, the dog returns from a run slower than usual. Dust cakes his legs, his breathing is heavier. You kneel without thinking, check his paws. No cuts, no blood. He sits and leans, not collapsing, just choosing you as support for a moment. You stay still. Later, when he rises and moves away on his own, you understand something with aching clarity. This can't last forever. No living system built on sacrifice ever does. But forever was never the goal. That night, you prepare the final release. Not faces, not routes, not instructions, just a sequence of moments edited into something impossible to dismiss. A network of strangers choosing care over fear. You send it out as the sun rises, and then you wait for consequences, for silence, for something to break. The border answers first. It doesn't fall, but it doesn't feel as solid anymore. The last run isn't dramatic. There's no chase, no alarms, no sudden violence that would make a clean ending easier to believe in. It happens on an ordinary morning, when the heat hasn't fully settled and the air still smells faintly of dust and engine oil. You're sitting where you always sit now, farther back than before, close enough to see but never close enough to matter. The dog stands beside you, not pacing, not watching the border, waiting. You've learned the difference. He doesn't wear a harness today, no pouch, no camera. His coat has grown thicker in the weeks since the running slowed, the sharp angles of work softened by rest. There's gray at his muzzle. You don't remember noticing before. You scratch behind his ear without thinking. He leans into it just slightly. Across the land, something shifts. You can't see it clearly, but you feel it the way you feel weather changes in old injuries. Engines shut down instead of starting. Voices stay low. A route that once needed him no longer does. The woman approaches. She stops a few steps away, as if unwilling to interrupt something private. It's done, she says. You nod. Families have moved. Supplies found safer paths. Some borders loosened in places no one will ever announce. Others hardened, but too late to erase what already passed through. The dog lifts his head, not toward the fence, toward the open land beyond it. You don't have to anymore, you say softly. He doesn't understand the words, but he understands the truth inside them. He steps forward, then stops, looks back at you. There's no gratitude in his eyes, no ceremony, just acknowledgement. Then he turns and walks, not runs into the scrub, choosing a path with no urgency at all. You don't follow. You sit there until the heat rises and the border resumes its familiar posture, stiff and self-important. But something is missing now, or maybe something has finally been removed. Weeks later, you're gone. The photographs you publish don't name places. They don't explain routes. They don't even focus on the dog as much as people expect. They focus on hands reaching, letting go, repairing, waiting. The footage becomes part of conversations that don't need your voice anymore. Policies shift in small, deniable ways. Aid arrives where it wasn't supposed to. Children grow up believing help came from neighbors, not miracles. Sometimes, late at night, you review one last clip you never released. It's from early on. The dog pauses mid-run, looks straight into the camera. Dust hangs in the air around him, frozen for just a breath. Working, calm, unafraid. You close the file. Months later, maybe longer, you see him again. Not at the border, far from it. He's older now, slower. Lying in the shade near a cluster of tents where laughter comes easily. Someone tosses him a scrap of food. He takes it politely, tail tapping once against the ground. No pouch, no harness, just a dog. No one avoids him. No one calls him cursed. As you walk past, he lifts his head, meets your eyes. For a second, the land between you feels borderless. Then he rests his chin on his paws, the work done, the story already moving on without either of you. You keep walking, and somewhere behind you, kindness keeps crossing, not because it has to, but because now it knows it can.